Greetings and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Run, and today we're playing as Apollyon. I feel like this is a remark that I make every time I play as this character, and that is that the last time I played this character, I feel like it's been a really long time. I'm not sure why that is, it's probably just confirmation bias because Apollyon is the new character, and I'm pretty much used to every single old character, so to say, or at least I've had a chance to play them as often as I would like, but because Apollyon is new and because I really haven't gone through the single player and did all the achievements, I feel like he's still unique and very novel in some sense, and for that reason I do tend to remember his dailies a bit more than any other. But like I said, this is just confirmation bias. Unless you're not human, which is how are you even watching this video, you're probably prone to it as well. And if you have a similar feeling about Apollyon, let me know, because I'm wondering if I'm the only one with this crazy thought whenever I play as him. I just feel like, oh, this is something that I haven't played in a long time. Like I said, it feels novel, and it's kind of exciting, because I know that this is gonna be another mind game where we have to use our void as optimally as possible in order to get as many stats or as many active items or whatever. It's basically a very potent item, and I feel like you need to be in the zone to really use it effectively. But okay, enough about Apollyon, enough about my feelings and my confirmation bias. We started out with a really interesting item, and that's fast bombs. And it's not an interesting item for any other reason that any other item is interesting. That doesn't make a lot of sense, but it really doesn't make the game different. It doesn't really change the way the game works, it doesn't change your playstyle, it doesn't give you some cool tear effects or bomb effects. It gives you 7 bombs, which is alright enough, it's just basically bombs that you can use, but its effect is that it makes it that the delay between the bombs that you place down is severely reduced, and suddenly instead of just placing a bomb down like once every 2 seconds, you can pretty much spam them as often as you would like. And you would think that that is really useful, or probably not that useful in some senses, but it feels like this is an item that should be a setting option and not an item in the game, because when you think about it, it really does change just the base core concept of how the game works. I assume the delay is there in the first place just to prevent players from placing too many bombs down accidentally, because I would say in 99.99% of the cases, you really want to place one bomb down in order to maybe blow something up or maybe blow up the enemies or whatever. So having the need, or at least there wasn't a need to place multiple bombs down at once, because that's usually a waste of bombs, unless you have something like golden bombs or maybe an infinite amount of bombs or whatever, or unless you want to heal yourself. There's no reason for you to do it. Maybe if you're a really skilled player, you can place like 3 bombs down and ricochet them off of each other and create some trick shot, which the likes of COD has never seen. But in this particular case, it's in Isaac at least, it doesn't really have a lot of relevance, and I feel like this is something that should be an option, not an item. And I guess that's what I said before, but it just baffles me, because I feel like this is an item that shouldn't exist, but it does. It gives you 7 bombs, which is alright. I don't feel like we needed more bomb items, so it doesn't really do anything much besides that. There's only one instance in where I would find it useful, and that's usually for quality of life. And again, aren't quality of life changes usually tied to the settings and not to items itself? That's like having an item which would reduce your friction in the game, for example. It's just how Isaac works. It's the velocity and the physics of Isaac. So something that would reduce or increase your friction so you don't maybe slide as much just seems like a useless item in some sense, because now we're obviously used to this. It's not something that needed changing, but having this item or whatever just, I guess, makes it for a bit of a fun synergy in some sense. If you do have a lot of bombs, maybe pyromaniac, and you just want to spam the whole room with just a bunch of sad bombs which explode into a million tears, that can be exciting, but that is such a rare occurrence that it doesn't feel like this item takes much from it. But I guess it does add to the chaos of Isaac. Maybe dilutes the item pools a little bit and makes it a bit harder, which is something that people want, but I don't think it's the right approach to do so. But I think it is an interesting item, at least to talk and think about, because I'm basically asking, do you feel like this item has a place in the game? With how other items are designed, I feel like this isn't a very proactive item. It doesn't really do much, and for that reason I feel like it should be a setting and not an item. But that's just my opinion. I'm wondering what you actually think about it. But of course, we also got some of the other items. Fast bombs was just kind of cherry on the top. And what was maybe the biggest bummer is that we only had 3 items to work with up until this caves floor. And what was the problem is that the cave floor was an XL floor, which means that not only are we dealing with a super large floor because of the XL curse, but also because this is a hard mode daily, and suddenly we have to go to what I would call the hardest, relatively hardest, the floor in the game, with something like 30 rooms to explore with only 3 base items. Luckily, we did get Binky, which is a tier 8 upgrade, and I was super thankful for that, because that did allow me to I would say stay a bit safe, but there are so many enemies in rooms which are just super hard to deal with, especially with just regular tears. You really need some form of penetrative shots or some way to deal damage to multiple enemies. I feel like this is what Isaac has become now. And it's not so much about just getting that damage anymore, or at least being strong enough to kill enemies super quickly, but it's more about how can you deal with groups of enemies at once. And I really dislike that it's become this way, but I guess this is the vision that Edmund has, or maybe it's just an unintended consequence of the items that they've added and the enemies. But it really does feel that any item which just gives you AoE, either in the form of piercing shots or splitting tears or whatever, is super powerful in this day and age, just because it does help you deal with those very difficult rooms much easier. And also because you're just shooting at one enemy, maybe there's just a chance that your shot is gonna shoot at another enemy, and that just helps you so much. And even against older enemies which weren't designed that way, for example the hosts, or maybe the guys, the knights with the brains behind, which you can only shoot from one direction, in that sense the piercing shots help as well, because you don't have to deal with them suddenly. So I guess that's what I always try to say, that piercing shots are one of the most powerful effects in the game, and I feel like this is something that has happened even more in Afterbirth Plus, and I'm not sure if I really like that, because there really aren't a lot of novel effects like that. I use the word novel for the second time, and I know a lot of people might take bother with that, but damn it, I really mean it when I say it, and it's just, I'm not sure. It really does feel like you do rely on a few items which just make the run good, and the majority of items, something like 70%, just don't do anything at all. And I feel like this isn't really the right way to go about it. Especially in daily runs, it feels like you're even more limited in terms of your choice, because either you need a really strong item, or you need a really breaking item, or maybe anything of the sorts, and you just need to get kind of far. I remember when this game used to be more about the synergies and just finding which wacky combos you could find, of course, explore, but because there are so many items which really don't have any novel effects associated with them, I use the word novel again, it doesn't happen as often, and I feel like it does hurt. I wouldn't call the replay value of it, but it does hurt the idea of it. It does hurt that concept of exploring something new and something new happening on every single run. A lot of the runs do feel samey, although I can't complain about this one. And of course, do remember that this is not criticism of any sort. These are just merely observations of what I've noticed as I've played this game through the years. And this is probably just me being in a place where I know most of the combos already and know most of the inner workings of the game, so I'm not really too surprised by it. I do imagine if you're new to the game and if you still play it, there's gonna be a ton of surprises in it for you, especially as you unlock the items, and if you're not that interested in dailies. Obviously, dailies have their own meta and feel to them, and I guess I'm referring to that a bit more than I'm referring to the base game. I still feel like the base game does have some unique things to offer, and the fact that you can actually intentionally take damage and not feel bad for it in order to trigger some effects is obviously a great benefit, because in dailies you can't really afford that because of the damage penalty. But yeah, I just wanted to clarify that so someone wouldn't take it out of context and say, oh, he hates the game now, because I don't hate the game. I wouldn't play every single daily if I hated the game. I'm just making an observation that there really aren't, I would say, a lot of unique mechanics or synergies or items which would really give you that sense of exploration. But then again, like I said, in 600 hours of playing this game, I wouldn't expect there to be. And the fact that I still find them sometimes, and sometimes there's an effect, I guess that's more of a testament to just how good the game is, as opposed to how bad it is. I just guess I'm disappointed because I can't get more than 600 hours of unique experiences in this game, even though that's obviously more than the bargain-esque price that of why I bought this game in the first place. Nevertheless, as I said before, I can't really complain about this particular one, because it did have a lot of the items which work really well together, and that is of course Sacred Heart, which is an item that never shows up, so the fact that we found it pretty much a few times in the last few dailies does go to show that the Angel Room change has been a very positive one, and in my opinion it did bring a new light to the whole Isaac in general. Basically the fact that if there is a bad devil deal early on, it's actually a good idea to skip it in order to get an angel deal instead, because not only are you gonna get the angel and some exploration bonus that way, but you also have a chance of getting some good items like Godhead or Sacred Heart and things like that, and those are the items that really never showed up before, so the fact that we can actually see them now and use them now does make all of this just a bit more exciting. And of course, with Sacred Heart, we also had Shattered Bones, or Compound Fracture, I think it's called, and that does allow us to have not only one Sacred Heart shot, but every single time we do hit a shot, we split into 4 Sacred Heart shots, and I think all of them have a 50% of your damage, which is still something like 12, which is obviously very good, so we're not struggling for damage at all. There are a lot of enemies which maybe hit us in a bit of an unfortunate place, maybe just with just how they jumped, or maybe how they exploded, or their RNG didn't really work in our favor. So if I would change one thing about this run, it would definitely be how much damage I took. Yeah, I feel like it was a bit too much, but still, I did try to break the game, I did try to get to the end. I did try to use my Ivy bag and the Fanny pack to its greatest extent, but sadly I couldn't find an AWAS rune. We did get to Womb 2, we did get quite a bit of Shrek bonus actually, and that is all due to Humbling Bundle, the Ivy bag, a lot of Temperance cards, and a lot of Blood Banks, and also the Fanny pack, and that did allow us to max out our consumables, but also get quite a bit over the top of that. Shout out to Lucky Rock as well, because with Golden Bombs and Fast Bombs especially, it did allow us to pretty much break every single rock in the room very quickly. So if there is one thing that the fast bombs are good at, is swag, and maybe they were designed for dailies, you never know, and if they were, I feel like they are a welcome addition. So we did finish the run in 68th place, which is incidentally the same rank that I finished yesterday's daily in, which is not something that I think has happened to me yet, ever since I've been playing the dailies, the fact that I finished in the 2 exact same spots 2 days in a row. So this is a very momentous occasion, which really isn't that exciting at all, but it does feel nice for me to be consistent somewhat, and our variance is pretty much 0 between 2 days at least. So it was a good daily, it was an exciting one. I did go on a bit of a rant, I did go on a bit of a jolly cooperation in some sense, so if you did enjoy it, I hope you did, and I hope to see you next time.